how to move forward without complaining and fear. How to move forward. Because we are a group of people who complain. We are a group of people that fear. But let me tell you something. Do you like a good story? Yes. Thank you. Do you like dramas? Guys and ladies too. Do you like westerns, shoot 'em ups, good old good guys versus the bad guys epics, where the good guys win and the bad guys are taken down? Do you remember stories your parents or grandparents told you when you were a small child? How they walked through 15 inches of snow barefooted, milked the cows, picked the chicken eggs, did everything, chopped the wood before they went to school for 7 a.m. And parents now, you tell your kids some stories, trying to make it appear harder than what it really is. Well, let's dive into the book of Exodus for a great and meaningful story. The book of Exodus is one of the most complicated books in the Bible. I might as well tell you that. When one tries to distinguish between the different versions of stories with the corrections and amplifications of materials by later hands, I must admit, it becomes confusing for sure. When we read Exodus, we are listening to many voices of different people, of different places and times, retelling the stories. Sitting around a campfire listening to evening stories. Do you remember such stories around a wood stove or around a fireplace with hot chocolate and cookies? Can't you smell the cookies? Can't you taste the chocolate? Then it becomes a match between whose ancestor had the right story. Well, my grandmother said it happened like this. Well, my grandmother said it happened like this, and she's right. Do you remember the stories that your parents told you? I just told you about the walking 15 miles. Nelson Ross is not ashamed to say that he came from a very poor family in a little place called Wilson, Louisiana. But each time Nelson Ross tells that story, it becomes bigger and worse, the biggest fish story. I didn't have anything, and he didn't. He didn't, and that's why he's such a grateful man today. In our home in North Carolina, when we built our home, we were blessed to build our home, I wanted to put wallpaper up in certain rooms. And the wallpaper was a little expensive, so I thought he was barking about the expense. He said, I don't want any wallpaper. You can have anything you want in this home. I will find a way to pay for it, get an extra job, do whatever. No wallpaper. I said, what is wrong with him? Can't tell me what to put in my house, what we have been struggling and saving for. The reason being, he didn't want wallpaper because they were so poor. They used the big wallpaper, the racks of wallpaper, the rolls of wallpaper, to keep the air out because it was so cold in the home, in their little home. When he told me that story, I cried. So I didn't put up wallpaper in the house. I felt badly for my husband, whom I love dearly. But each time he tells the story, the wallpaper gets thicker and thicker and thicker and cover up more holes. But that's okay. That's okay. Whatever the case, something in all of those stories were extraordinary and spectacular because the oral traditions, speaking about Exodus now, continued down through the generations. Well, this is what has occurred with many of our Bible texts. The significance of the events recorded in the book of Exodus lie at the very center of the Israelites' faith and life. The events come under the headings of God's deliverance from Egyptian slavery of the Israelites, the Sinai covenant, with the Hebrew word for covenant being barit, meaning bond or agreement. And also it's about the tabernacle, which was the holy presence of God in the lives of the Israelites. But today, our focus is the deliverance of the Israelites from the Egyptian army by the way of the Red Sea. You see, the Israelites were between a rock and a hard place. Let's set up the story. It's a great drama. Let's set it up. Let's set up God's preparation for the deliverance of the Israelites. So we have the plagues. The water was turned to blood. Then there were the frogs, then the lice, then the flies, the death of the livestock, the boils, if you've ever had a boil in your life, the hail, the locusts, the darkness, death of the firstborn, whether it was an animal or a person, the plagues that God sent down. In the Exodus drama, there's fear and then there's courage. Fear, that emotion that can be caused by impending danger, evil or pain, whether the threat is real or imagined. Then we have courage that our little ones talked so well about this morning. That quality of your mind or spirit that enables a person to face that difficulty, that pain, that danger. You're able to face it. You're able to walk through it. During one of his critical times, Abraham Lincoln once wrote, "Whatever he being God, designs, he will do for me yet. Stand still." We just heard the song, "Be Still." Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. And the English novelist and poet of the Victorian era, George Meredith, once said, "The soul's one road is forward." Let me repeat that. The soul's one road is forward. What are your fears? What are you complaining about today? What's keeping you from moving forward? Think about that for a while. What are your fears? What's keeping you from moving forward? In our text today, the Pharaoh's fear is that of every oppressor, ancient or modern. That being that the oppressed are viewed as being necessary to do the dirty work no other citizen would want to do. Yet, the oppressed are feared and controlled as a potential enemy. That's the Pharaoh's fears. What are your fears today? I want you to name them in your mind. You don't have to say them out loudly, but name them in your mind, because we are going to confront them. You are going to confront them. I am going to confront my fears, and we're going to move forward. What is your Red Sea? What is your Red Sea? The first 9 verses of chapter 14 of Exodus has God giving Moses specific instructions. God tells Moses that Pharaoh will think he has won, since the Israelites will be trapped between the desert and the Red Sea. But God says, Moses, don't worry about that. I will show Pharaoh who I truly am. Don't worry about that, Moses. I'm going to show Pharaoh. You just be cool, Moses. I'm going to show Pharaoh. Then in verses 10 through 18, we have the meat of the drama. Now, earlier you told me you like a good drama. Well, here it is. The Israelites are full of fear because they see the Egyptians behind them. The Egyptians are behind them. The Red Sea is in front of them. There's no place to run. But they do like all of us. They begin to whine and turn against Moses. However, they are truly turning against God, since Moses is representing God as God's leader. They whine. They whine. They whine. They say, we told you this would happen. We could have remained in Egypt and died there. We'd have been eating well. We would have died, but we'd have been eating well. Moses had already proven his power to carry out God's plans. Remember the rod Moses used to bring down the plagues, as was given by God? Moses tries to encourage the people. Don't be afraid, he says. Please don't be afraid. And Moses was praying while he was encouraging the people. There are many times you will see me praying. I'm asking God for guidance. I always tell you that. I'm praying. I'm praying. I'm praying. But then God says, Moses, quit praying and get the people moving. Forward, march. You're praying, Moses, but move the people. Use that rod that I've given you. It will part the Red Sea and make a dry path. I can just almost envision Moses stuttering. And God is saying, Moses, look, you're trying to pray, you're stuttering, use the rod and go. I will part the sea and make a dry ground. My people will walk through, and then the people of Egypt will know that I and I alone am Jehovah. Great drama. Great drama. However, what can we learn from this dramatic story? What can we glean from it in relation to our complaining, our fears, our inabilities to move forward at times, and our lack of trust in God? First, this is right out of the text. Know that when you look back, it causes fear. Didn't the Israelites look back? They looked back. They looked back, and they were terrified. We can't forget our history, those pains and hurts and horrific experiences we have gone through. But we shouldn't dwell, we can't dwell on that fear emotion. whether real or imagined. Don't look back if it paralyzes you. Don't look back. Next, know that some people may whine about what you're doing and will not support you. They may even turn against you. Move ahead anyhow. If I would have allowed people, or if I would have listened to what people told me, I wouldn't be here at First Baptist Church. I might as well tell you this. There were family members, not Nelson Ross. Nelson Ross was supportive. But there were other family members. Do you know how cold that place is? Do you know how far that place is? You don't have any family members in that place. And before I could say anything, Nelson Ross said, oh, yes, we do. We have God first. And First Baptist Church has already shown that they are our family. You have to trust that God will fight for you, even when your back is against the wall and there's no way out. People will tell you you're doing the wrong thing. You have to pray and ask God for direction. God, am I doing the right thing? And then, as that young person said, with courage, you move forward with courage. Finally, after you have analyzed the situation, you have been analyzed, you have prayed about the situation and prayed some more. Stop. Stop. Just put one foot forward, then the other one, and move ahead, even with fear, even with doubt, even with pain. Forward march. Forward march. Hear God tell you, forward march. Forward march. Make changes in your life. Hard, yes. I'm not giving you any recommendations that I don't find hard for myself. Develop strategies. Is it hard? Yes. How do you not complain during the process? Simple. When you truly begin to move forward, you're so busy trying to keep moving that your energy must focus on one thing or the other. Meaning, if you complain, you don't have the energy to move forward. If you're moving forward, all your energy goes into moving. Let me explain something to you. I had 2 exercise partners in Durham, North Carolina. We would meet at the gym, rain or shine, cold weather too, not like this, but cold weather too, and exercise at 5:30 in the morning. All of us would go in there, the 3 of us, complaining this and that. 2 of us learned early on. When we complained, we couldn't get through the exercises because we couldn't breathe. Our other little friend, who was only this high and about 97 pounds wet, she complained the whole hour and a half we were in the gym. She had difficulty breathing. Why? Because she was too busy complaining. My other exercise friend and I would say, just breathe. Don't complain, just breathe. When we take a break, we may complain, but just breathe. And we got through. And my friend would say, the little one that's 97 pounds, this high wet, how did you all make it through? We didn't complain. We just kept moving forward. It's hard. It's hard. Because you're trying to maintain your momentum in order to just keep moving. Remember, I want you to remember this. If you don't remember anything else, courage is not the absence of fear, but courage is moving forward in the midst of fear. It's painful, it hurts, but we move forward. Okay, the drama ends. The drama of Exodus ends. The Israelites are saved. True story or exaggerated oral tradition from 1,000 years or so ago. You decide. Those of us who are logical and believe in the Big Bang Theory may say the crossing of the Red Sea on dry land was impossible. It was impossible. Others of us who take the Bible literally may say, yes, it's true, because I know what God has done for me in the past. Whatever the case, the lesson here is that God, Jehovah, is a God of promise and provision. Reflect back over your life. With all of your scientific theories that you may come up with, I bet you there may be one or two that you can't explain because they have been miracles. And all you can say, even if you don't allow anyone else to hear you saying it, God did it. God did it. God did it. However, the story changed down through the generations. God still did something spectacular and extraordinary. And if you ask me, Pastor Sheila, do you believe that the Red Sea was parted? I'm not going to chicken out on you. I will say yes. If I was doing a presentation with theologians somewhere, I may say how during that season, see, I'm getting my voice as if I'm doing the presentation, that it was marshland at that time, so it could not have occurred. But when I'm not worried about being a theologian or a scholar, and I think about the things that God has brought me through, I stand flat-footed and said, yes, it's possible. Because God has allowed me to walk on dry land many times when I was between a rock and a hard place, the desert and my Red Sea. Amen.